Hey, welcome to the Iron Oath. This is a newly released early access game by Curious Panda Games and Humble Games and Steam Games and uh, lots of games. The Iron Oath is a turn-based RPG, tactical RPG, where you take the form of a tactician, where you order your little mercenaries on a journey to defeat this giant dragon right over here. So, unable to do so, you must start a new company name and just click randomize until you get something that kind of looks cool, and then you say something like Morbius is now our thing, and I am they. Yes, because they excluded that option from their example. So, guess do not click on new game because this will only hurt your progress. Actually, no, it will hurt your progress if you skip the prologue. But if it's your first time playing, then click new game or skip the tutorial mission. I don't really care. Don't click Iron Man mode unless you want to tear your hair out, and then click on the easiest difficulty for the best experience. Then, what you want to do once you load into the game is to carefully read every single bit of dialogue, because all of it is very important and it tells you a lot about the story, but for this video I'm just going to skip over it because I want you to experience it for yourself. This is just a speedrun guide, I guess you could say. So the goal of Iron Oath is to not die and to kill a dragon, and also kill all of its little blighted oh my gosh. I'm scratching my neck here because I'm trying not to swear so badly. Because I'm going to post this on my Steam guide. I can't swear. So you search for answers of the people who tried to kill you by going over to Rayenhelm. And then you click on the region maps and see, oh wow, there's like 4 houses. You know, like the houses from that one Dune movie? No, you're going over and collecting salt from this other company. And then you get ambushed by enemies that are way higher level than you. But as long as you keep venturing and you play intelligently, you won't die. No, trust me, it's very freaking easy not to die if you're just smart. And the smart thing to do is to not skip the prologue. The smart thing to do is to not skip the prologue, because if you skip the prologue, then you just get boned. Because, well, if you... Nice aim, idiot. Oh. Doing the pincer attack, I see. Enemy ambush, I know how to play the game. So basically, you learn how to play the game by just killing things. But don't worry, I'm very proficient in killing things. The cleric didn't roll the best starting things, but whatever. Okay, every time you miss, you then learn how to save scum. You only save scum if you die, because dying is frustrating, and nobody likes dying. Yes. There you go. Yeah, Stormcaller is kind of good, and Pyro Lancer is kind of bad outside of out of this guy. If this guy dies, then you're screwed, and you have to go find another guy just like him. By that I mean not a Pyro Lancer, other than the starting guy, because the starting guy is always good, Eric. This is basically how you play. You just click, and then you click near an opponent, and then you melee it. Okay, and then you get up to your opponent, and you try left clicking on them until they die. There you go. That's how you play the game. But don't worry, your characters heal after a combat encounter, unless you're inside of a dungeon. So you don't really need to worry about wasting all your materials. Go over to Rayenhelm and get ambushed by the bounty hunter soon. So once you enter the city, here's where all the fun stuff happens, because this is where you get to hire people for your mercenaries for your band of gangs. If you go into the inn, you get to start a classic bar fight. Actually, no, you don't, because it's an early access, and you don't get to do that yet. So you go over and recruit somebody. Get the hunters, and then you always click the second option, because if you don't, then you're just wasting your time. Because a year in this game is basically just only 100 days. So never get this. Always get this. So a good tip is to just hire everybody that you possibly can at the start, because if you can start training up their their levels fast enough, then you can get a really buzzed team and just clean sweep through the entire game. Unless you're playing on the hardest difficulty, then only hire maybe like one extra guy. Accept every single side quest that you can at the start of the game, and do them. Trust me, the marketplace is stuff where you can buy a bunch of gear and other items. Now the fun part about this part is that you get to stress over, like, ooh, it's on sale. Do I buy it or not? But then it decreases my movement speed, so I don't want to get it. So never buy anything that decreases your movement speed, because trust me, your movement speed is basically how you survive in this game. If you don't, then you'll most likely die. And then you go back into Rayham after you see that the side quest is to improve your reputation by doing contracts. So technically, no, you cannot beat the Iron Will without doing side quests. Okay, so the easiest quests in the game are the ones where you have to escort somebody or you have to attack things on the road. Because that's always really easy. You just have to go and beat up like 2 combat encounters and then you're done. So after you accept a very difficult side quest, go over to the dungeon area, and then we'll begin on the main part of this game, the dungeon crawling. This is secretly a dungeon crawler and also a boss rush game, because at almost every single encounter you're going to face a boss. It's always good to click on the well-rested people first, because they're going to get the most XP out of their mission, while if you click on these guys, then, well, they're just going to get fatigued, and if you don't, then they become well-rested. If you're well-rested, then they don't do anything, so it's just a waste of time. Always have a healer on your team. It's this little guardian thing, or at least a pugilist with the abilities unlocked. That's the wrong guy. Pugilist with at least healing trance or mind, body, and soul to start healing things, but mind, body, and soul kind of sucks, so never pick mind, body, and soul. And then you pick the team carry. The team carry is going to be the tutorial guy that's always on level 4. Never buy any of this stuff because it always gets lost anyway. Because your party has no idea how to hold on to items because they just drop it right in the middle of random encounters. So here's my tip to get through dungeons. Walk blindly until you bump into something, but every about 3 to 4 steps, press the scouting button, and then boom. There, you have a chance of ambushing the enemy so that they don't ambush you. And if you ambush the enemy, then you get a free turn, which is also very, very nice. So here's the combat portion of the game. There's pits, walls, and half cover, but there's no half cover on this map except for this little thing right over here. So spread out your team so that you have a good cover, and then the archer usually always goes first. Pugilist and archer are usually the ones that go first, so don't put him in bad spots like this one. So I'm just gonna attack some cover real quick to open up this little area right over here. And then here's the tip. Ranged attacks are freaking busted in this game. Attacks that can attack multiple targets is super good. So anybody that can attack multiple targets is immediately your A team. So the fun thing about most of these enemies is that none of them are vulnerable to your weapon elements, but a lot of them are resistant or just straight up immune. The developer really needs to add vulnerabilities, because it's like, it doesn't really make any sense how these skeletons are just... I mean, yeah, they are immune to bleed, but wouldn't that be cool if they were, like, vulnerable to bludgeoning? Although there's no bludgeoning weapons in this game because, well, because who cares about bludgeoning weapons? Bludgeoning weapons aren't really that cool, but I really like bludgeoning weapons. I usually always have one all the time when I'm playing Dungeons & Dragons, and all my friends look at me pretty weird, and they're like, why would you ever use a bludgeoning weapon while playing Dungeons & Dragons when there's better options? Oh yeah, did I tell you that the undead warriors come back to life? Yeah, this game is not for kids. No. Yeah, so here is why the archer is probably the best class in the game. Okay, bad example. Okay. The healer is easily the best class in the game, because you get to heal things, and healing is very nice. Although you cannot heal outside of a combat encounter, otherwise your little time meter here on the bottom goes up. And what does this time meter do? Well, it tells you exactly how screwed you are in an amount of time of how much you are screwed. So always blow up the tunnel, because it's always fun, and you get all your teammates to really like you for after that. So after stepping about 4 times, never trust these corners, because there's always going to be a combat encounter around the corner, or on the corner. So after you get into your second combat encounter, you realize, oh shoot, wait, there's different enemy types? Yes, these are blighted enemies, so these enemies are exactly the same as all the other enemies, except they look cooler and have different attacks. The Soul Conjurer doesn't actually conjure any souls, and it just makes you very frustrated to fight them. So after you put your team in a very optimal position, move your archer into a very vulnerable spot so you can start wrecking. I can't swear because I gotta put this into my Steam guide, and I wouldn't really want that, do we? Even though this game isn't the greatest example for children, it still has this funny part where you get to mass murder things, and mass murdering things is always fun. So this game is very tactical because you can... I'm just gonna attack the dead bones. So this is basically the game. There's 6 classes with a 7th class coming soon. Very, very soon, actually. Like, it was really... Like, we know what it is, we know all of its skills, we just can't use it yet. It's called, like, the Ice Mancer or something, and you get to, like, control ice or something. And that is Opportunity Attack, one of the most annoying mechanics in the entire game, but it makes sense. And the enemies really like abusing it. The AI in this game is actually pretty astounding. I always have some trouble fighting the AI because their placement is always really good. So good job on the AI part. Other than the fact that they always walk into the fire, but they already know that's the strategy, because the fire does absolutely nothing in this game, and just looks intimidating. That's why the Pyro Lancer is kind of really bad. It doesn't even defeat the defeated enemy on the ground. And then there you go. So never... don't care about morale, because morale is basically not a mechanic in this game yet. So you don't really need to worry about that. These are your time modifiers. There's only 2 of them that you really gotta worry about, which is the ambush one and then the other one. I forgot what it was, but it's another really very scary one that you definitely don't want. So this guy is very weak, so I'm going to send him out in the front lines like a good soldier, and then I'm going to send these guys down here to be a decoy, and then the archer is just going to do the clean sweeping like they always do. Do not attack the coffins because it just summons another guy. I found that out the hard way. Oh yes, I forgot. The healer can heal. Oops. Okay, there you go. Yeah, there's skills in this game, which they do different things, and depending on what you start with, you can get a random assortment of skills. So 2 of the same class may not have the same abilities, if that makes any sense. Because there's this giant skill tree that half of it is locked because of early access, even though the details of all the skills are just out there. It literally tells you what all the details of the skills are, just not in the game yet, which is kind of neat, actually. But that's also kind of funny. Oops, heal. I forgot. Whoops. And then you continue your slaughter, because if you're playing on the easiest difficulty, you don't need to use your brain for tactics. But if you're playing on harder difficulties, which is actually decently hard, then trust me, there's this cool mechanic called save scamming. It's going to become your very best friend playing on the hard difficulties. And why is this guy always playing hard? You mainly just do that just for intimidation. So this game is pretty cool. It's run by just a small little indie company of about like 2 people. So if you're expecting like a lot of updates, then don't expect a lot of updates to this game very fast. Because welcome to the world of indie gaming, where not all of your wishes come true, but all of them usually do, because indie games are usually the best. So you may be wondering, why did I buy this game even though it just only came out literally just 30 days ago? Well, because I bought like a corporate run game and I didn't really like the corporate run game. So I was like, you know what? I was looking through my Steam like queue whatever thing that shows you like, oh, check out these games, they're pretty cool. Yeah, it is pretty cool. And also I saw a YouTuber who played it, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy it just because one YouTuber said it. And the last time I bought a game that I had no idea what it was about, it was pretty banger actually. So here are the bosses. You can tell by their little symbol on the top on up here. And if this symbol ever has two of it, then run. They're really powerful. Do not, unless you're really high level. Oh, what? So this is how the game works. You rush out your healer out to die because, well, I'm gonna keep this save file after this demonstration. All right, place your trap right around here, and then place another trap so that the enemies completely avoid your trap. Do the roar. Yo, what's up? Bruh. Do not trigger your own traps. You can. Alright, yeah, the enemy's really like focusing the ones that's the weakest, which is very frustrating and also frustrating at the same time. Yeah. Injuries, yeah. It is basically fight for your life. If this goes all the way down, then then that character's dead. And the further that goes down, the worse their injury gets. And if they continue fighting, or they continue taking damage, and their injury also gets worse, unless you know, have a bandage. Do I have a bandage? We're to find out. Actually, no, we're not, because I don't know. She can survive for just a little bit longer. Oh yeah, I forgot why I don't like this boss. Actually, oh yeah, I really like this boss. Okay, I don't like this boss anymore. Yeah, just let your teammate die. I was like, what is your teammate actually gonna do? Just get targeted by the boss again? Yeah, probably. Yeah. I've never actually had somebody die on me before. Like, I made a joke about that earlier, but I actually want to know what happens if your character dies. Because I haven't had anybody die on me yet. I'm just curious. That's kind of mean. Hey, soul sister. He's thinking really hard on what to pulverize me with. Boneyard? Yep. Oh. That's it. She just like, ugh! And then that's it. Poink. And then defeating a boss is really cool because, and then he dies. Cool. Oh no, one of my guys died. Oh no. You always click on the ones that are the main attribute, because if you ever click on one of these, then you're just wasting points, unless you want to upgrade toughness, because toughness is pretty broken. And never upgrade conviction, because it's pretty much useless, because morale is not a mechanic, and it only increases your defense by around 0.3 every single point. So upgrade everything else other than convention, because convention is always useless, and whatever your main attribute is. So always upgrade the ability that you use the most, which is usually just wherever ability is just the most broken, like Infernal Pillar, and just like click on random things, and then you have busted characters now. No, she died. Okay, but don't worry, dying is part of the process unless you're trying not to die, which I'm just showing you how to play the game, so it's not really supposed to be a way I'm like, oh, be careful, man, this is a playthrough. Oh, I'm not gonna save. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, somebody died at my company. Yay. Did that count? Renown reputation? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. What do you mean? Okay, well, usually, if you get this thing, then you'll get like this renown points, and then you'll also get like company points, which you can spend. You can spend on this stuff. Now, here's your company upgrade. So whenever you like level up, I guess you can get one of these renown points. You can put in any one of these things. Never put anything into this alchemy tree because all of it is basically useless. Expeditions is also pretty much useless until the end of the game, where you can get extended camp, ambush tactics, and shouting distance. And then just pump all the points into here, other than draft horse, team building. Yeah, okay. Do not build into team building or draft horse because both of those are kind of useless right now. And spank into horse training and bookkeeping as fast as possible. Don't worry about tents until the very end of the game. And then just basically get whatever sounds the most useful. Bookkeeping, horse training, do that first. And then foraging is a pretty good one until you can get up to these. Multitasking. Don't worry about recruiting too much until you're towards the end of the game. Get recovery. And then respite is pretty neat if you're doing like overtime, whatever it's called, when you're after you complete the main story and you just keep playing just for no reason, other than just have fun. Satchel science is basically useless, never get it. Discount is pretty neat. Supply lines, I never really buy this, although I bet it's really useful. Reimbursement is pretty neat actually. Camp fortification is pretty neat. Shouting distance is required. Get this as soon as possible because scouting is very OP. And ambush tactics is also very OP, but you get this after you max out bookkeeping and horse training. Extended camp is also very OP. Get that one first. Trust me, it'll be helpful. But that's towards the end of the game because you have to be level 15, and I completed the game before I got to level 15. This is okay. You don't really need this because there's not like a lot of hazards or traps anyway, and most of them are just like ones that your party can see anyway, as long as their perception is 10 or higher. And then ambush avoidance. Well, that one's pretty good, but like just spam scout because the time mechanic never really punishes you for staying too long. And then all of this alchemy stuff is just really useless other than these base 5. Yeah, I never really use it. Clairvoyance is pretty much the only one that is semi-useful that I found out. If you're doing like a long dungeon, because there's like different dungeon lengths, this one's the best one. Here's your stuff. Biography is pretty neat if you just want to learn more about your character. Affinity is not really required yet. And same as like morale, you don't really need to worry about that. You don't really need to give bonuses unless you're playing on the hardest difficulty and your like a loyalty is pretty low. Traits are pretty neat. You always want to ditch people on the harder difficulties that don't have the right traits. Gear is also very important. You got to keep your like gear repair. It's high so it doesn't break it right in the middle of combat because then you just end up with like no armor or no weapon. And then your abilities. So always pick the one that sounds the coolest because it's usually the best one, like Infernal Pillar. And Blazing Lance is pretty okay. It just does extra damage as an attack and it doesn't really do too much. But although Pyromania is really OP if you have other units that can deal a lot of damage like Pugilist or Huntress or Valkyrie or Stormcaller or anybody other than Pyrolancer because Pyrolancer doesn't really do that much damage because almost everything resists fire, which is really annoying. And even the plant area on the bottom even the plant area on the bottom left of the map has this area right over here has no vulnerability to like fire, even though it's like living plant enemies. I don't get it. Water is basically a neat mechanic because it actually has some like tactical use if you're using storm callers. This area is just just like basic area there. Yeah, you'll see like bandits and undead stuff. And then this is the desert area. We're gonna find a lot of enemies that are either immune or resist to fire, or just anything that has to do with the Pyrolancer. And also the tar actually just straight up doesn't work. You know, the thing that's supposed to blow up when you light it on fire. Yeah, that doesn't actually work in this game. It doesn't work yet. Pyramid of the Divine and the Circle of Magnitude doesn't actually work yet, so don't click on that. Also, this part of the bottom whale tent doesn't actually do anything. Even though if you were to stock up on like 20 bricks and come here, then you can't repair it, which is kind of dumb. Vanguard Keep. I haven't really found a use for this thing yet. Like, I'm not. I actually have no idea what it. So the best rule of thumb is to just, you know, be allies with everybody, because there is literally no negatives with being allies with every single house. Although there is one downside to being on negative terms, is that randomly you'll get sent like bounty hunters, which the bounty hunter boss is pretty difficult early game. And even when I faced him around end game, right, he's still kind of like, I had to save scum a little bit. So do not piss off the bounty hunter. And then that's basically everything that I really need to know about this game. So this game is pretty good, actually. I put in about like 20 hours into this game already, and I've already beaten it like maybe twice. maybe 3 times on every difficulty. Yeah, you know, customizing your character is actually pretty neat. Nice. Yeah, customizing your character is pretty cool, actually. But yeah, other than that, that's everything that you need to know about the Iron Oath. So, yeah, I highly recommend this game. This game's pretty fun. It's in early access, so don't expect too much out of the game yet. Although there's a lot of potential for greatness here. The only negative I could really say about this game, I'm sparing it like most of the criticism because it's early access and it's an indie title, which makes sense for it to be released for access instead for like a AAA game. So I can forgive them for early access for a little bit. And they said that they're only going to be in early access for about a year, so that's pretty okay in my book. The only negative thing I could say about this game is that um uh well, you don't really feel like, I guess you could say, you gotta be kidding me. I'm trying to record a video. Okay, so yeah, I mean you're supposed to. The story of the game is that you're this like mastermind or like tactician thingy, where you're supposed to be like running like this huge business. Although this business only consists of like 8 people for like almost the entire game until you upgrade camping towards the end game. Because if you just do that early, then you're just gonna run out of money and then you're gonna fail. I think that it would be a lot neat if you could have multiple different parties being sent out to different locations and completing different questions at once. I read across on the Discord, and they say that they're probably not going to do multiplayer, but if they ever did do multiplayer, then here's how I should foresee it to be happening. Is that it should not, I don't think it should be couch co-op, although couch co-op can happen if it's like split screen, although that could get really obnoxious really fast. But let's say, online, right? So how I would think how it would probably work is that it's just basically just a race against the clock. Now you and somebody else would just have to just like be rivaling partners, I guess. Kind of like Plague Inc. Evolved, if that makes any sense. Where you're like both coinciding in the world together, although you can't directly affect each other. Or if you could attack each other, which would be pretty neat. But I mean, this game's time mechanic is pretty like weird, because if you were to try to fast travel, like or if you were to try to travel here, it'd take you 23 days, but somebody could be but your teammate could be in a fight, which for them that could be 4 days, while for you traveling over here it could be 23 days, or traveling across the world could be like 40. It doesn't really make too much sense. So I guess there isn't really much that you can do there other than just having its own designated area or like game mode, but that'd be like a lot of work and I don't really see that happening. Which is fine because this game's actually pretty good on its own and I don't really see any need for it to have a multiplayer mode because I had a lot of fun playing this by myself and I've been playing this for like the past 2 days. Yeah, the one complaint that I see the most about this game is that how you're just invisible, how you just straight up don't exist. How you yourself is in the game, and you're kind of just like chilling, and you're like nowhere to be found. Like you're adventuring along with these guys, although you just don't exist, but you're still there in the story beats. Like people still talk to you directly, although there's like nothing going on. It's like, where are you? And, like I get that. But I mean, it's like you're just a tactician. What's your point? What's your purpose of being an adventurer? You're just a tactician who just hires people. And then one other thing is that, yeah, I don't really have an idea. I really can't think of a negative because it's like I really enjoyed this game. And mostly it's just like nitpicky stuff like wanting enemies to be vulnerable to certain attacks or elements. Or like how the Pyrolancer just sucks. And how like all of this is basically all of this is horrid. But other than that, just a little nitpicky stuff that just stuff that doesn't really fit my playstyle, I guess you could say. But yeah, other than that, take care.